Hello and welcome to Beacon Hill Update. I'm your host this season, Jody Garzon, and thank you to Millis Community Media for working to provide us in Millis each quarter with this opportunity to hear from our representatives. Today's update is with Representative Marcus Vaughn. He represents Precinct 1 in Millis in the Massachusetts House of Representatives as part of the 9th Norfolk District. Representative Vaughn has been our representative since 2023 and he lives in Rentham. Today's program is taped on Election Day here in Millis on May 11th. And we are going to focus on first, any planned relief for utility ratepayers and where things stand now as our gas prices go higher every day. And next, we'll discuss some immigration issues, immigration and customs enforcement, and different issues that are related to that. We'll also discuss any updates on federal funding cuts, such as education and medical research, and updates on the state budget process. And then finally, we'll hear from Representative Vaughn about the legislation he is currently working on and any other important updates within the Massachusetts House of Representatives. Representative Vaughn, let's start with any updates on what the legislature is doing about the cost of gas and electricity in the Commonwealth. We continue to pay the third highest electricity rate in the nation, and I know that my electricity bill has been a little lower the past few months when the governor redirected some clean energy-related accumulated payments that were paid by utilities to rate relief for residential customers. What is the legislature doing to significantly assist ratepayers by bringing down our delivery fees and other charges that are in our bills?
Yes, thank you, Jody. So, this is top of mind with everyone here in the district and the Commonwealth, the cost of energy. It's been very unfortunate that, the utility companies continue to add on these exorbitant fees on top of, our bills every month. We're experiencing it in my family. My wife looks at the bill every month and can't seem to understand why our energy costs continue to rise. We have solar panels on our house. We do a really, good job of maintaining our usage, but the cost continues to rise. So we've worked diligently in the legislature. We heard a lot of constituents come to us during our statewide tour for House Ways and Means on this particular topic, and giving some alleviation to our constituent base. I don't think it goes far enough at this point, and the governor has proposed some relief to these ratepayers, but I think we need to take a look at it long term and make sure that we have the appropriate bandwidth to tackle this problem in the future, because as we see what's happening worldwide right now, especially with gas and fuel, there are people here in the Commonwealth that are really struggling. Our seniors, I hear it every day, working with our COAs. It's very much a struggle to be able to pay these bills, and we need to get back to a level where the Midwest, in the southern states, their energy costs are not this high. Pipelines, I know we've had some, debate on pipelines and getting natural gas, liquid natural gas, and fuel to this state and to the Northeast in general. There's lots of options. We just need to all come to the table and be able to figure this out for the long-term future. Well,
certainly in a lot of our Metro West towns, a lot of folks don't even have the option for natural gas.
Yes.
We don't even have it in our street.
Yep.
So, we're looking at the price of gas and oil go up, and if the price of electricity is going up at the same rate, it's just squeezing everyone
it
to the max.
Yes.
All right. Well, we are excited to hear anything that is coming out of the legislature that can give us some relief in the future. And we are hoping for a very mild summer.
Yes, and that is one thing. The governor did, spread the cost of our energy through the summer, which at the end of the day, I'm not in favor of, because there are people that, do a really good job of mitigating, their usage. And it's only spreading that cost, along the year, where, you have your high months, obviously in the winter months, but people, do a really good job in the summer months. So, you're only kicking the can down the road at that point, and we need to be able to, mitigate, those high costs in the winter months when they are substantially higher.
Absolutely. Also, at the end of January, the governor filed legislation to keep Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, from carrying out enforcement actions in and around sensitive locations such as schools, churches, hospitals, and courthouses in Massachusetts. What are your thoughts on these actions by the governor as the legislature is considering, those parts of her proposed legislation, and how can state and local law enforcement officers best assist the federal government with targeted enforcement to, we all want to rid our
Yes.
communities of criminal, undocumented immigrants, while also protecting the rights of all Massachusetts residents and visitors?
Yes, so as a member of the Black and Latino Caucus, there's 25 of us, and we've really been proactive in this type of legislation and different policy measures here in the Commonwealth, and speaking with the governor on a continual basis. Those sensitive areas are very important to make sure that we keep control, especially around schools, even in courthouses where there are victims, whether you're a U.S. citizen or non-U.S. citizen. There are victims that unfortunately will not come to the forefront for us to prosecute those criminals if they don't feel safe in those areas. I voiced my opinion, countless times with my colleagues in the Black and Latino Caucus. I'm the only Republican in that caucus, but they welcome me with open arms, and we have spirited debate and discussions. We all collectively, feel passionate about this issue, and myself making sure that our constituents and the people of the Commonwealth are safe in and around those areas, even with law enforcement being able to carry out their duties as far as immigration control. We want to make sure that we are going after those hardened criminals, that pose the most danger to our communities, and get them out as soon as possible. But we need to do that, smartly and strategically, and sometimes, getting in the crossfire of things at some of these locations is just not the way we want to go about it. But again, it takes our executive office with our federal partners to make sure they're in coordination with each other. And I think that's what's been lost here in the Commonwealth. There is the butting of the heads, and you don't normally see that with some other states that are able to carry out these operations. And as we saw in Minneapolis and Minnesota, when both sides are not talking and coordinating these activities, that's when you get the tragedy that we saw in Minnesota. And I do not want that to happen here in Massachusetts. There's no reason why it should happen anywhere. And I think that's why, our executive office and federal partners need to come to some sort of agreement how to carry out these operations in the appropriate spaces, handing over, criminals that have these detainers in an appropriate manner, so that it's carried out, safely and without any innocent. Yes. It all stems with communication.
Absolutely. And related to immigration issues is this current topic of home-based benefits, which has recently been in the news. For those who may not know, Home Base in Massachusetts, it's a state-funded rapid rehousing program designed to help homeless families who are residing in Massachusetts who are eligible for emergency assistance. It can provide up to $30,000 over 2 years for rent, security deposits, and moving expenses, and it's intended to avoid or exit shelters. So I know there are several legislators who are pushing for immigration status verification prior to receiving home-based benefits. Why is this an important issue to you and your colleagues?
Yeah, it's very important. At the end of the day, our constituents don't see the day in the life of a representative, and there's some really tough conversations that we have to have with constituents. I can't tell you right now. I mean, I can probably, get you the information on how many cases we have in a district like this where people don't realize, there are people in need that do not have housing, and especially when it comes down to young, families with children, the elderly, and the incapacitated, where you may have a disability where you're not able to have housing. Last week I had to meet with a pastor in one of our towns who got in touch with me because they could not seem to get services for this one individual, for one of their parishioners who had a disability. He's been looking for housing for over 6 months now. He wants very much to stay in the area that he grew up in, and he's not able to do that because there is not enough housing available. And it is disheartening when constituents look at the overarching, housing scenario where we have not renovated enough of our public housing.
Absolutely not.
I think we are somewhat in the 30,000 range of units that are out there but not renovated and not suitable for housing right now. So we really need to make an effort to make sure that we provide funding to make sure those units are put back online. And I am a believer, and I think, just the conversations I've had in my district, especially with these situations with individuals that do not have housing, they're very passionate that they should be looked at as having first priority over others that have come into our state. Even if you're not even a Massachusetts resident or a US citizen that has come from out of state, Massachusetts residents should take priority as far as housing needs before. Obviously, we want to try to help out as many people as we can, but there does need to be a focus on the most vulnerable Massachusetts residents first before we look outside the box.
Yeah, the need is certainly increasing. I mean, we see it as I started volunteering with a food pantry. I did not realize just how many folks that actually live within the district
Food
are
insecurity
reaching out, and it's growing every week.
I am very involved with the Hockomock Area YMCA with their food insecurity program. I volunteer, and we do a lot of legislative work and working with all the pantries, and it is unbelievable when you look at the level of, I guess you would say, between lower income and that middle tier family where they are struggling paycheck to paycheck, and a lot of them don't want to ask for assistance, but they really are in need of the services that we provide at these food pantries.
And we've seen a lot more seniors come because their pensions just don't cover that inflation that we've seen in utilities and housing costs and food costs and everything. And so they're really desperate for assistance. And, housing is huge in Massachusetts.
Yes,
I
it
mean,
is.
I have, 2 kids who would love to live on their own, and I would love for them to live on their own, but it's just not possible right now.
And there's a lot of things that stem from, the housing issue, affordable housing, unfortunately in this state, really isn't affordable housing.
It's not.
And I've met with a lot of contractors and builders that are, want to get to affordable housing, but they are hamstrung by a lot of the mandates and building, codes that Massachusetts has passed over the last couple of years, in energy codes that really increases their cost, and they don't want to be involved with as many projects as they normally would be as far as affordable housing is concerned. So it really makes it tough to build the rate of housing that we need to here in the Commonwealth to be able to take care of people.
Yeah, no one's building the 1,000 square foot 50s ranches anymore.
No, not at all. Yes.
You just don't see them.
Yep.
So as we talk about budgets, the House officially passed its FY27 budget proposal earlier this month. You've stated that you have some concerns about aspects of the proposal. Can you help share what's in the budget, what you would like to see in the budget, and kind of where things stand with that proposal?
Yeah, so the overarching theme of this budget, past budgets, again, doing our listening tour through the state and for Joint Ways and Means Committee, we heard a lot from administrators and educators and school system, and the cost of education is rising, not at the inflationary rate that we see here today. So we really need to buckle down as far as the Chapter 70 funding formula to make sure that our schools are level funded. especially with the rate that we have exceeding costs in special education and transportation costs. I think 4 out of my 6 towns that I serve, there are children in the school system that cost over $500,000 to school them, each year. That could be 4 or 5 positions, even more in some school districts, and we just need to make sure that those privatized educational systems that we subcontract out are not rising at the rate over and above inflation and cap them. That's something that the legislature has talked about. We have lots of projects, roads and bridges, infrastructure that we need to take care for. I think we're doing a good job as far as injecting some additional funds for Chapter 90 to take care of that. But again, local aid and unrestricted general aid is something that a lot of our municipalities are talking about. We have a lot of money injected into our gateway cities, but our rural towns, our smaller towns, don't see the same unrestricted general aid as some of the larger districts, and that's unfortunate because our tax dollars should be able to work for us as much as it's working for them, and we don't always get the same return on investment back here in our smaller towns. So that's what I'm really fighting for on Beacon Hill, is to make sure that we have more money coming back to us than normally has been given.
Another issue that I've seen recently is from your discussions of the recent budget and amendments put forth by the Republican caucus. I see you're in favor of requiring voters to show government ID when voting. Today's election day in Millis. Why do you think it's important for Massachusetts to institute this voter requirement?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of a common sense issue. I think, for the integrity of our elections, and to make sure, we've seen the animosity these last couple of years, especially on the federal side, about voter ID and making sure that the votes casted are for the people that they cast for, and that there's no nefarious activities happening. I think you get rid of a lot of that and he said, she said when you present ID at the voter at the voter polls. This is an issue that through many other states, they require voter ID. I think to nationalize it, and certainly here in Massachusetts, to make sure that everyone is doing what they're supposed to be doing in a proper manner, goes a long way to make sure we have fair and free elections. So,
thank you. What is the biggest concern you're hearing from constituents right now, and how do you think the legislature is addressing that? Or not.
Yeah, again, I mean, back to the topic of energy cost is one for sure, and the uneasiness of where town budgets sit and potential of 2.5 prop overrides is a really big concern, and how they're going to fund big capital projects for the future. We have a lot of schools that are being built. We have Tri-County being built right now, and all of our towns having to foot the bill for that. We have schools being built in each of our individual towns, new middle school, high school, in the future here in Millis. I have an elementary school in Rentham. We have same in Norfolk. So these large scale capital projects really put a strain on the town at this point, when we have these constraints budget wise. So between that and these elections, I'm glad to see there's 2 candidates for the select board, but we do fall into, I think people are these elections, because they have been they've been a little bit crazy the last couple of years with everything nationalized, and the federal government. People aren't stepping up as much as they were before, and a lot of these seats are not contested. You often don't even have anyone running for these seats. So just to make sure that people are engaged and are supporting their town for the betterment, for the future. So there's been a lot of talk about that as well.
And are there any additional areas that you're focused on Beacon Hill this legislative season?
So I've been hard at work with the World Cup. So this area, obviously the 250th anniversary, tall ships are coming to Boston, but the World Cup is going to see approximately 200,000 people over and above the ticket holders that will come to Gillette Stadium. So this particular area is going to be inundated with fans traveling from all over the world, and I've been working with our public safety officials from all the towns. Our chiefs here, are helping out the chiefs in Foxborough and coordinating efforts to make sure that we have, mutual aid is very important, and to make sure that we mitigate the traffic for all of the Commonwealth's people, especially in this southeastern region where 4 of the 7 games are during the weekday.
Exactly,
Yes.
and heavy traffic during commuting hours.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say in my household we're a little concerned about that.
Yeah.
How we're going to get from point A to point B,
Yes.
or at least get home.
Yeah, you definitely start planning now. It's right around the corner. We got about a month left until everything kicks off. So, yeah, it's coming up quick.
It is. Is there anything additional that you wanted to share about what you're doing within the district?
No, just making sure that any office hours. I don't really conduct office hours. I'm a little bit different. I've always felt in the beginning I did a lot of office hours, but a lot of people didn't really sign up. So I always make sure that I tell my constituents, and I'm always out and about, if you need to get in touch with me, I will sit down with you one-on-one. I think that's a lot more effective than dwindling it down to 10, 15 minutes for office hours, meet and greets. So anyone that reaches out to me, it's always been the case. They can sit down with me for an hour or two, whatever they need to, carve out as far as time to talk about any issues that they have, and for me to help, as best as I can. So that's really important.
And how can they get in touch with you?
So they can get in touch with me by contacting my legislative aide, who's actually a Millis resident, Samantha Boudreau. Myself, my email is marcus.vaughn@mahouse.gov. It's marcus.vaughn@mahouse.gov.
Okay, great. And thank you so much for sitting
Yes,
down
thank
to
you.
talk with us about the work that you're doing this session. And that's it for the Beacon Hill update with Representative Marcus Vaughn for this May. And thank you so much for joining us. And please send any questions that you have for our next update to Millis Community Media at milliscommunitymedia, that's all one word, @gmail.com.